U.S. Navy retired.
My name is Alan Mullen, and at the time that the movie was made, I was a lieutenant in the United States Navy.
My name is Brian Tyndall. I left the Navy as a lieutenant.
Most guys know me as Fox in the Navy, and I joined the Navy in 1965, and when we made the final countdown, I was lieutenant commander.
My name is Bill McCluskey, and at the time I was Lt.Jg.
My name is Jim Houston, and I was a lieutenant when I was in VF-84, and we did the filming of the movie.
Jolly Rogers. I will tell you that that was my squadron command, and I was blessed. When you speak in terms of pilots, you have different skill levels. You fundamental pilot, and you have a highly skilled pilot, and then you get into what you refer to as an aviator. And we think of it this way. That's one that really feels it becomes one with the airplane. But I was blessed to have in my squadron some true aviators.
It's, you know, one of the great things about being part of that squadron is it's sort of a legendary squadron. It goes way back to World War II, and it's a very memorable insignia.
Camaraderie that you build up with the guys that you're flying with, really, they're lifelong friendships.
We had a family, and they had a mission, and they had a sense of understanding of that mission.
But I think it was kind of an unusual assemblage of people, because when you look back and you go sort of down the list of who was in the squadron, really, really extraordinary people almost across the board. And wasn't it that year that we got the awards, the best fighter squadron in the Navy?
Yeah, the absolute best in the business.
Lt. NIMITZ is the captain. All hands, very excellent work this morning.
Life on a carrier is a spectacular thing. You can't imagine what it's like when you see an aircraft carrier with 5,000 men actually in operation. It's like a choreography that is so precise. We're talking down to inches in a very high-tech, intense, dangerous environment. And it's pulled off because you have young kids out there, 18-year-old kids, that are made into men because of the environment. Whenever we have a launch cycle, you have so much time in which to clear the deck of aircraft, because you have all the aircraft that you're going to launch, and you have to reposition the other aircraft so that you can do the recovery operation.
It's an incredible ballet of men and machinery and noise and violence. It's frightening when you first go out there until you understand how it's all choreographed.
They taxi the aircraft up over the jet blaster flight just as soon as the one ahead of you is launched. It comes down, he brings you forward, puts you on the catapult, brings you into tension.
There's this holdback. There's this just really hard tension where the catapult's trying to go. The holdback fitting is not letting it go.
And when you're set and ready to go, you check scan all your instruments, you look down at him and give him a salute, and you brace yourself and you're set. And the next 2.5 seconds of your life are out of your control. Carrier landing is a totally different experience. The heart rate of the pilot is actually higher when he's making his carrier approach for landing than it was when he was over North Vietnam having SAM shot at him. It's not a matter of, am I going to survive this landing? It's a matter of just how deadgum good is it going to be.
At night, it goes from being fun and safe to being about the hardest thing in the world to do.
No horizon, no outside lights, no reference to anything except a little tiny deck ahead.
You could literally land the aircraft on the ship in 0-0 conditions without ever seeing it. It's tense, but you can do it.
We had new airplanes. In fact, when the F-14s that we flew were delivered to VF-84, we were peeling the wrappers off of them. They were so new.
Well, the F-14 had the ability to morph. That wasn't even a word in those days, but it could morph from a low-speed airplane to a high-speed configuration.
It's a wonderful airplane. It's got such tremendous capabilities. I had the opportunity to be the original carrier suitability test pilot for the F-14 program, so I took it from the very beginning all the way through up until the time that I had command of the squadron.
Emory was familiar with the media and how to put together movies because they made periodic movies during the development of the airplane.
Well, we were preparing to go on deployment. About a 6-month deployment was scheduled coming up. But I called Dick Milligan and said, I'm getting ready to take command of my squadron. I know that it's difficult to find this, but here's an opportunity. If you want to do this, if you want to update the film at the Smithsonian, do we need to do that? And he said, no, we're in good shape there, but let me tell you what we do have. It's an interesting situation. So we haven't been able to put this film together for 2 years, but Peter Douglas, son of Kirk Douglas, has a full feature-length motion picture that he wants to produce. Shoot, that sort of set a little spark. This is an opportunity for us to put together a film that might be a recruiting boon to the Navy. We were always doing anything we could to promote the Navy. It's a wonderful, wonderful life, a wonderful career, a wonderful mission, but you've got to get the right people into it. In order to do that, you have to expose them. So I asked him to send me a copy of the script. He did. We read the script. We saw great potential in it.
Two of us went out there to a meeting with the director, Don Taylor, and after that we kind of coordinated the Confederate Air Force participation, which were the T-6s that we used for the Zero simulation.
But the match of the fighters with totally different speeds and totally different environments and weaponry, that's never been done before. It presented a lot of difficult challenges for filming, actually do it, and to sell it right. And so we told us that we really need to be able to have as much license as we can with respect to the script and to the terminology and the type of scenes that are going to be done. And it was just, the agreement was right there on the spot. He said, you've got it. Now, let me tell you that we have another situation here. There's a lot of complexities that come in. First thing is, we were getting ready for deployment.
When we were detailed, if you will, to go down to Key West and do another 3, 4, 5 weeks of filming down in Key West, that came out of our at-home time. So it was difficult to also, to go home and explain that I was going to be gone another 5 weeks, making the movie.
Just said, hey guys, we're going to help shoot a movie down in Key West. It's going to have Kirk Douglas in it and James Ferrantino, and we're going to go down and do the flying scenes. Of course, we said, wow, Key West, we're going to be involved with the movie. That'd be pretty cool. Showed up at Key West, and there was somebody to meet us and said, here's your hotel room key, go see Vic at the pool. Vic, he's this little short Italian-looking guy with a big belly and a Speedo on that had a white envelope with $100 bills stuffed in inside of his Speedo, and he went up and said, I'm Bill McCluskey, I'm going to be here for 3 days. And he said, okay, I think it was $150 a day per diem, which to us was, two house payments in those days.
We felt like, this is like, we've died and gone to heaven. This is it. We're surrounded by actors and actresses. We're flying, in Key West and having a great time. And then they're giving us money, cash money. How can this be? There's something illegal about this. So it's great. And then you have lunch, of course, and it's like you're eating at the Ritz or so. It's unbelievable. We're used to having, a turkey sandwich that somebody's been, sitting on for 2 weeks. And rather than having us use cab, they had vans that were there. And they were driven by Teamsters. Which we didn't know, we just knew that they were guys, but they were guys that were generally from Los Angeles. We thought it was odd. You fly somebody to Key West to drive a van. They hire you to come out from California to drive in a van? Yeah. How much money do you make? He told them, and it was substantially more than the F-14 pilots were making. And that's when you start going, hey, wait a second, there's something out of balance here when a guy driving a van is making more than these people out there risking their lives every day.
The remarkable thing about being able to put this motion picture together was the cadre that we had in that squadron. But we had some of the absolute finest skilled aviators, and they knew exactly what they were doing. They had confidence and faith in each other, and we had it in them. And so there wasn't any question about the fact that we were going to be able to pull off any kind of shot that was necessary to do.
From a pilot point of view, David Jones
Oh,
he was the director of aerial photography. He was a great photographer, he was a good organizer, he was a lot of things, but he was a damn good helicopter pilot.
Unbelievable.
He was a very good helicopter pilot.
Did Apocalypse Now, all the helicopter scenes, he directed them. And he told me when he said, we're going to have this project, and they told me they want to have it done in 10 days. He said, we spent 4 months doing those helicopter scenes in the Apocalypse Now. And he said, I don't know how we're going to get this done in the time we have.
We briefed and planned every single one of these shots. It was the critical adjunct. It had to be done right. And so we've sat down with Don Taylor, all of our pilots, and we'd sit down around the table and plan that mission.
And we'd have a room, and we'd sit there with our flight suits on and brief, and here's what we got to do, here's the scene we're trying to get, and we'd make sure we knew how we were going to do it, the altitudes, airspeeds, angles, and what we're trying to simulate, and off we go.
So it was almost like briefing for a regular mission and trying to figure out where these airplanes needed to go at this particular time to have people get what they needed on film, you know, and it turned out to be quite a challenge.
The whole theory, I guess, of the movie and the concept was to show that possibly one nuclear-powered carrier with the air power that was on that ship, you know, could have taken out the whole Japanese fleet. So I think Don wanted to show the tremendous performance differences. In World War II, they take all day to climb to 20,000 feet, and then if they sacrifice that altitude for performance to go down and go after some low flyers, boy, you know, it was half a day to get back up there. Whereas we go down, take care of them, go right back, you know, in seconds.
And so the 6 of us would then take what he wanted and try and convert that into something that we could actually do. And that was a trick.
They would take the film, fly it to New York, and bring it back the next night, and we would view the film the next night that we had shot the day before, which meant that we would go fly, shoot the film, then the next day we would go fly and shoot again. That night we would see the film from the day before. So you can see that if you messed up something, you were 2 days away from fixing it.
They had cameras mounted on airplanes. We were flying up next to a helicopter, and they were taking pictures. And then the outtakes came back, and it wasn't what they wanted.
We weren't able to get the dynamics of the dogfight or the aerial engagements with the helicopter.
The helicopter was more or less stationary in place. And then we had these T6s, or simulating the zeros, that are coming through the scene at about 150 or 60 knots. And then we had the F-14s coming through at 250 or 300 knots. So from my perspective, it was like trying to get 3 pool balls to collide on a table simultaneously. And that was very, very difficult to make happen.
Luckily, they made the decision to contract Frank Pine and from out west. Their Tall Man's Aviation came out with his B-25. We do 200 knots, and now we're starting to cook because he can stay along with us, and we can maneuver the F-14 because of its great slow-speed maneuverability.
Now you're only trying to get 2 pool balls to hit on the table, and that is a much easier problem to have that. In fact, we were able to do it almost 1 time out of 5.
So then we had 2 weeks left to shoot the rest of it. And it started to come together really well.
Assumed it would be hard. I mean, look at this, the scene by the boat where they went screaming by at sea level at, how fast were you guys going? Do you remember, Bear?
I was just hanging on.
Bear was on the way.
I was too afraid to look.
You could not have been more than 75 feet off the water. Could not have been. And that's really fast and really low, and with a guy on your wing, it was really dramatic. It's a good scene. It worked out very well.
I was assigned to do that scene, to fly over the yacht, and we had Dave Jones on board the yacht. In fact, I called Dave. How'd that one look, Dave? He said, "Oh, that was pretty good." You know, he looked a little hot coming over. "Can you get it in?" I said, "Dave, that's it." I said, "We're not going down any lower than that. That's as low as I'm going." You know, at that speed, I figured we pushed ourselves to the absolute limits.
But we were young, we were aggressive, and we wanted to do the job right. We wanted to produce something that we were going to be proud of, and if that meant flying low to a limit, we were going to find that limit, which is what young people do.
And for those who are aficionados of this kind of film and really care about the detail, look at the difference between the missile shots in the Final Countdown and the missile shots you see in movies like Top Gun, which are just bogus. I mean, they're out there and they got a little model. You can probably see the string if you look hard enough. And then they have this enormous explosion, like a nuclear explosion, when this airplane blows up. Completely ridiculous.
You know what they're speaking about? They were going to do this missile shoot with models or some kind of simulation. We persuaded them to let us take a camera with us. Jim took the camera. They educated him on how to use it, and we were going to do an actual missile firing exercise down at the Atlantic Fleet Firing Range or Weapons Range in Puerto Rico. And so up we went, got the shot, and it went into the movie. It was perfect.
I was the one that was in that scene where you do a pass and you fly under the Japanese Zero and then you pull up in front of it. In Navy parlance, that's called thumping somebody. And you're really not supposed to do that because it's very disconcerting to the person being thumped. And it could also really do some damage. And we're talking to him on the radio, how you doing? Okay, how you doing? Okay. And all of a sudden, after we pass him, there's nothing. He's not responding. Is he there? What happened to him? Well, as it turns out, we talked to the guy later, Archie said, when you flew under me and flew up, the jet wash was so dramatic, it pulled the headset off my head and flew out the back of the airplane. I couldn't talk to anybody. You hear so many things about what people from Hollywood are like and film people and all that, and you just, a lot of, I think, average people think of them as basically not that professional and kind of not that organized and not disciplined and kind of crazy people. Not my experience at all. I was really impressed.
They blended in with us and they became part of our family, as a matter of fact. I believe to a substantial degree, we became a part of theirs.
We learned as much about them, I think, as they did about us. And they're very hardworking people, and they play hard, but they work hard too.
I remember a little bit of friction at first because they thought they could just go where they wanted on the flight deck, and they were going to be able to dictate when different airplanes were taking off and for what they needed. And then they ran into the world's greatest dictator, called the captain of a Navy vessel, who said, no, it doesn't work like that out here.
I can recall talking to the sound director, and his comment to me, he said, this is amazing. He said, we've got to make sure we get all this and record it, because he said what these guys are doing out here and the conditions they're living under, not that they're bad, but they're just hard. He just said we need to make sure we document this so everybody in the civilian world can see. I think the best example of that was during the general quarters filming there when we were loading weapons, and this is really the way it was. When they were filming that was for a competitive exercise. They didn't just put on that general quarters drill for the film crew.
When you speak of Martin Sheen and Kirk Douglas, you're talking about total pros that have been around this industry forever, and they adapt to anything.
Kirk Douglas was great. I gave him a tour of the F-14 and showed him the whole thing, let him sit in it. And, really nice guy, a very personable, warm person. James Ferrantino was great. Martin Sheen. Charles Durning, when we were down at the whatever hotel it is in Key West, he would often sit at the bar, but if he saw anybody from the squadron, a flight suit or whatever, immediately he'd say, let me buy you a drink. And he'd sit down and just start talking to you, and just a very, very nice fellow.
We swung it, Laurel. How about that? We really swung it.
Did you tell him you were sleeping with me?
What? Laurel, I wish I was.
The other myth, of course, is that actors and actresses are just arrogant and mean-spirited and they don't care a bit about you. Again, not my experience at all, with one exception. It was the end of the day, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and everybody's back at the hotel. We're sitting out on the patio with the director. Nice guy. But we're sitting there just shooting the breeze, maybe four Navy guys and him. Catherine Ross walks into the lobby, and she sits down in a couch just on the other side of the glass doors, just sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. And we said, this is our big chance. We've wanted to meet her officially, and just say hi. Because then everybody says, did you ever meet Catherine Ross? We go, oh, yeah, we absolutely met her. So we say, would you go in, just ask her to step out for a second, we just want to say hi. So after a couple of minutes, maybe 3, which is a lot longer than we thought it should have been, he comes back out, closes the French doors, and sits back down with us. And he says, no. And we said, well, no what? He said, she doesn't want to meet you. Well, one of the guys who was sitting there said, really? We'll see about that. The next day we're out there flying around. He had the other airplane come over with the guy in the back seat with a camera. He says, okay, you ready? Yeah. He says, roll it. He puts up, and he puts a sign up at the cockpit. Okay, got it. And then they went on and filmed whatever scene they were filming. So then the next day in the dailies, here we go. We're sitting there in this big conference room. Turn out the lights. Here come the dailies. Up comes the first piece of film. F you, Catherine Ross. We didn't want to meet you anyway. And she's sitting there right in the front row. And you can just see the steam rising out of the people.
Hold observation position. Dispatching A6 tanker for refueling.
There's a scene in the movie where the F-14s are going to refuel, and Dave Butler, who was the cameraman who was in the very tail of this B-25, is shooting the nose of my airplane out. And at one point, he reached out with his toe and waved to me to fly the airplane up closer, and he wanted to touch the end of the refueling probe with his foot. Well, and I kept shaking my head, because airplanes, when they fly, they build up a static charge. So I knew that if he touched the probe with his foot, he was going to get a shock. But he was insistent, you know, he really wanted to do this. So I knew it wouldn't hurt. It's high volts with low amps or whatever. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to kill him or anything. It was just kind of smart. So I kind of shrugged, and I pushed the airplane up close, and he reached out in the air and actually touched the end of the refueling probe with his foot. Kind of launched back up into this camera airplane, and I think he showed up later with curly hair or something, and we had a great laugh about it later.
That's the first thing anybody says. First question, who was that?
Who was that idiot? Who was that crazy man?
There's sort of this myth in the Navy now. There's this mythological concept that we almost flew into the water, you know, and died.
And I was just upstairs talking to a friend of mine. I said, how many times have they asked you about that scene? And right away I knew what he was talking about.
Everybody that has seen the movie, that's the first thing they say, oh God, that, you know, the airplane hit, oh my gosh, you almost hit the water. No, we didn't.
Many times I've been told that I was trying to kill myself in my back seater on that flight, which wasn't the case.
This is Fox Farrell. Have you forgotten? He's the best pilot in the Navy.
As we go down to the water, David brings the water in with the zoom lens and created this effect that we're going to fly right into the water, which is what we were trying to show. We pulled out probably 100 feet. I didn't tell Emory about it or anybody.
On film, it looked scary. In his hands, it wasn't. It was a brilliant, beautiful piece of flying.
Peter Douglas got up and he said, Fox, that'll sell a lot of tickets, Fox. Great job. And Emory's looking at me like, what did you...
But I'll tell you a little secret about this, and listen to this when you watch this particular scene in the film. The editor took Fox's wife, had her scream as if she were in terror watching her husband about to crash. And he recorded that, and then he recorded jet engine winding, spooling up, and he blended the two of them. Listen to it when you see that scene.
He said to me, he said, I don't think we'll show that daily to the Admiral. He said, we'll wait till that comes out.
Because of a perspective issue, it looked way worse than it really was. Isn't that your story that you're sticking to?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was just like a little surprise for the Admiral. You want to show them something. You know, you show them everything, they've seen it all. Well, let's show them a little something special.
And we just thought that it would be better for that to go in the actual film for the premiere, and that would be an opportunity for the Navy and the world to see it. And until such time, it was inappropriate for anybody to be concerned about it.
Nice way to put it.
The night of the premiere, the Chief of Naval Operations was there, and a lot of high-ranking Navy officials, and we had a reception afterwards, and Kirk Douglas and all the folks that were involved in the motion picture were there at the reception. Kirk Douglas said to me, he said, "You know the Chief of Naval Operations." I said, "Well, actually, sir, no, I don't.
No.
But it's a pleasure to meet you, Admiral." And the Admiral turned to me and he said, "You guys did one hell of a job." So that was just a beautiful job. So we're gonna get some really good showcasing of the F-14 and the Navy and naval aviation and the Nimitz. And how low did he go? And I mean, it was literally that kind of a flow. And I said, "Well, sir, 100 feet, but it was well controlled all the way." He said, "Well, it looked great."
We've got an incredible opportunity here. We know where all the mistakes are going to be made for the next 40 years, and you've got the power to correct them.
Flight Forces is Flight Leader. Return to base. Mission aborted. Mission aborted? Well, we can see them. The Japs do it again.
To think about that premise, and your first thought is, this is hokey. You got to portray the power of the F-14, the advanced technology, and the capability that we had at any time to stop Pearl Harbor. I mean, we could have done it. We could have gone in with 2 F-14s and destroyed their fleet. You know? But what do you do?
Oh, that's the classic question.
I've stood at the Arizona Memorial. It's a powerful experience to stand on that memorial and to look off and see where the Zeros and where the Japanese aircraft came in. There was no way in the world that you would have wanted to allow that to happen.
I can't imagine how any naval officer could stand by and allow ships to be sunk and men to be killed if he had the power to prevent it.
So I assume you're there, and you better do something about it. And I would have gone and wiped out the Japanese fleet. That's what I would have done.
Absolutely would have shot him down.
Of course, we were in a parallel universe, weren't we? It didn't matter what happened in the other one.
But the fact that it did happen, and the fact that it changed the course of the world, no, I would not stop Pearl Harbor. I would think that the sacrifice of those Navy men and the women that were there was vital to the state of the world today. It brought our country together. It gave us a sense of urgency, but it also gave us a sense of what's right and what's wrong. And it gave us a sense that we could never allow something like that to ever happen again. And of course, it ultimately projected us into stopping what was going on in Europe. So no, I would pull back.
What's the matter with you? He's long been the weakest of the group.
We've been carrying him for years.
It's difficult to take care of these kids and to educate them appropriately, you know. But once again, my whole theory on that is, I felt like we made a tremendous sacrifice, but that's what military men have done through history. You make a tremendous sacrifice in order for the future of your nation and all the people and all of the world to be better. So that's why I say it's. I would have let it go.
No. What a bunch of nonsense.
They can't agree with me.
Nice speech. Wrong in every regard.
I don't even believe that he would have done what he said he was going to do, even though intellectually and analytically, I think you are correct. If I put you in the position of the CO of the Nimitz in that case, if that could ever possibly happen, I don't believe that you would be able to do that.
You're absolutely right. There's no way we could have done it.
Especially without knowing that you're going back.
Intellectually, the decision is no. From the military viewpoint and from the leadership viewpoint, all of us would have been in there shooting everything we could shoot.
We changed his mind again.
Yeah, see? We brought him halfway.
That's why we made him the skipper, so he's so malleable.
A bunch of us went to the theater and watched the movie and stood up and cheered at the end of it, waited to the very last credit because I think the very last credit had our names on it. So it was exciting for a bunch of young kids.
I thought it was an effective movie. I thought it was good.
But I love the movie. I always, the more times I see it, the more I kind of get into the whole concept of what went on, and it turned out very well.
To take this science fiction film and to make it professional, and make it literally believable, and pull that off. And I think that we did that. I really do think we did that. And so that kind of opened the doors, and it did. It showcased the F-14, and it showcased the Navy and naval aviation. It showcased the Nimitz and our air wing and all the aircraft that were involved with it. And it basically told the world, said, in a realistic manner, look at this. This is what your fleet has the capability to do.